Hello.
Hello there.
Hello, everybody. Today, got quite the subject to tackle. We're going to be talking about some video games again, obviously. Going to be talking about Silent Hill 2 and Final Fantasy 7. We're going to be comparing Pyramid Head and Sephiroth and the impact to gamers. Tackling a couple different, I'm going to be talking about Sephiroth. Get started. You want me to start? All right. 2. I'm going to just introduce the game. Silent Hill 2, obviously equal to Silent Hill. It's came out in 2001, Station 2. It limited connection to the game, and the main aspect franchise is the town of Silent Hill. A protagonist comes to this town, and they are haunted by the town, not in the typical manner. The town haunts them, and their scary inner fears come out. It's not typical monster from the deep, So I'm going to be talking about the creature design of the game. I'm going to be talking about the sound. And then I'm going to be talking about just general impact in gameplay and in real life.
All right, that was great. Final Fantasy VII, highly regarded as the Final Fantasy game. Very good reasons. Action-packed with a 3D landscape, not franchise. The story has you called in a world ruled by the evil corporation Shinra, who created a monster who never wanted to be born, and now is on his track to become God, and you must stop him. That is the main focus of Final Fantasy VII, I want to say, and it would not be the game it is without Sephiroth. It would not be as iconic. There's a reason he's in like 10,000 things. And I'm just going to be arguing that Sephiroth is the best villain in impact.
That's fair.
So take
Hill 2. James Sunderland has gone missing and to go to this town called Silent, wanting to find your light, wanting to go to Silent Hill. Upon arrival at the town, there's lots of strange sights and appearance. You see lots of strange creatures. Strange indeed, because when you see these scary beasts, they're not quite the same. They're not like zombies. They're not like flying demons or any of that sort. They don't look like they've come from hell. They look like they're straight out of your mind. For example, an enemy that you encounter is called a nurse. Just looks like, a nurse from a hospital. However, her face is all bandaged up and it's bloodied. What could have happened under that, Like, oddly surreal. It could be real. She does seem real. Mm-hmm. It is because when designing creatures in Silent Hill, they had to take a different approach. Like I did earlier, the monsters of your guilt, of your hatred. They took staples stated in the Yoshi Sato and stated by the Silent Hill. When we started Silent Hill, we started Silent Hill 3, but more than 3 years ago, before most of what you're talking about. We draw most of our influences from all over, fiction, movies, manga, new and old. So they do take influence from old things, but their creatures are something new. And that is seen further in Pyramid Head's design.
In Final Fantasy VII, the game starts you out as this mercenary Cloud. I don't know if y'all heard of him. He's quite popular. And in Chapter 2, how many times can I say you meet the man strange like schizophrenic, but he makes you see flames. He makes you of your strange past. There so many different games. I mean, you got Crisis, you got Rebirth, you got the original. God. There's so much to the story that previously you would have to play other games for. So, and even though I haven't played Crisis Core, I haven't played the original, I've only played the remake, and I'm on Rebirth now, I was enthralled with the backstory and the mystery of who Sephiroth is. The impact of him and his design really spoke out to me, even before I played any Final Fantasy game. Sephiroth's design alone is just timeless. I mean, you'll see it everywhere. You'll see copycats. You'll see anyone who's like even inspired by Sephiroth. He is the cool, edgy villain. You'll see him in Last Fight, which is the best final fight. It's the music and the dialogue. Even if it's a little bit dialogue, it's still pretty.
Like how you mentioned, Sephiroth shows up in multiple like games across the franchise, and he's easily recognizable each and every time. Pyramid Head is the exact same way. Silent Hill 2 was the staple, or where he first showed up. His design was introduced. He is a large, bulking man with a pyramid on his head, and he carries a large knife and sometimes wields a spear. But his design has been changed and integrated into all across the Silent Hill franchise after his success. And each and every time, whether he has a shirt on or not, he has a pyramid on his head. And you know that's Pyramid Head. It's timeless. You know a guy who doesn't talk and carries a mess up.
The same thing about in the old, the 90s. Really good. And even now, he still looks, if he does look 8 pixels, he's still like timeless, and his design has barely changed. Obviously, there was a lot of changes from the original to the remake, but the design philosophy around it stayed the exact same. And the designer for Sephiroth is Tetsuya Nomura, who, I'm saying that right? Nomura, yeah, okay. And he was the reason Sephiroth has that giant sword, and the reason that he has his long hair along with his black trench coat. And it's still timeless to this day. I mean, if you think of a villain, any villain who's cooler than and it's not pure.
The timeless cool is a timeless design as well, as much for the cool factor. Because obviously Silent Hill, horror game, they wanted a timeless horror design, something that would inspire fear no matter when it came out. 2000s, 2020, doesn't matter. It's still scary, right? It is because when they made Pyramid Head, they're not thinking of the cool guy you'll always remember. They're thinking of a figure, something much more simplistic. Stated by Masahiro Ito. Hold on, just have to actually find it. Stated by Masahiro Ito in the IGN interview Silent Hill 2 Remake, the world-exclusive deep dive interview. When I thought about James, I didn't see him as a character who could possibly the trajectory of one who loved creatures with insters would have to be take them until the present moment, right? To use the person James is not just a creature. He is your deepest fears incarnate. He is that man is manifested. And that's why his design changing is still so iconic, yet it makes sense. Everybody has their own Pyramid Head in them that can come out and torment you.
I see. And even though, obviously, Final Fantasy VII is not a horror game, I'm going to tell you right now, it's definitely not. It does have some aspects of horror, especially in the original. And that is in large part with the final battle with Sephiroth. And I don't think a lot of people final battle gives off a feeling looking at his design. It's not as terrifying as Pyramid Head chasing you, obviously, or hearing that knife dragging on the floor. But it gives cosmic horror at his one, like, you're not going to say to a very, that was my next point. It is beautiful. Even if you're looking at the original, it's still beautiful. It's a timeless design. And I keep saying that, but it is. So many creatures and gods and boss fights later on, Snapchat stop, were inspired by his one-winged angel form. You could argue there were other factors, but It was mainly that, even if it was a slight bit of inspiration.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I would agree with that.
And that much of an impact it had. I don't know, hell, even Time, who played enough to ideas of design and their aspects.
Well, just to talk about what the creature is, I'm going to switch the title and start talking about the music and sound design, if that works. So,
of course. Before we get to the next point, I'm going to go see the camera still.
All right. That's probably a smart idea. Sound. Like you hear a noise behind that door over there and you're like, "What is that?" So you turn the camera and the sound's coming from behind the door, right? This was one of the first games to ever utilize that. And that seems like a pretty mundane thing nowadays. Every game has it. But back in 2001, Silent Hill 2, it was game changing. It was the spooky cherry on the top of your spooky pie.
I see.
More specifically, though,
I'm actually going to save the remake for last and talk about the original One Winged Angel. It was revolutionary in everything. When you get that music, seeing him there perform, there are moments that live up to the hype. You're playing for hours, days, just getting to there. And when you finally get to there, it's pure game. And the composer was a legend for his time. I'm gonna try to pronounce this as best I can. Nobuo Uematsu. Sorry. And he was the composer for the original one, and technically Advent Angel, which is a remix. And he revolutionized how we do gaming music. I watched this from a video about it because I'm that much of a nerd. But the drums, you hear the bum 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 bum. It's he made it sound because when you're using video game music, you're doing it almost like a metronome, like it's just the same beat over and over again. He tried doing different beats, more realistic, and actually paved the way for game music. It sounds less making the music or like actual people playing it. It's still fake instruments, unless you're listening to a live orchestra. But yeah.
Dang, okay. Well, in a similar manner, Silent Hill also paved the way for video game music. Not quite in the same spectacle, orchestral themed grand boss theme, but in the eerie, atmospheric, scary horror tracks. You could hardly even call these tracks made by Akira Yamaoka music. They're purely for the atmosphere. You almost can remember the scary sounds from them and hear them in your everyday life. However, it is not just the sound, like the music was quite innovative with. One of the first games to incorporate a 3 sound in real time for the PlayStation 2 in 2000. Quite innovative. By Akira Yamaoka in an interview with the Silent Hill 2 team by Computer and Videos. We are incorporating 3D sound in real time. So when you are playing, you can hear a monster approaching from behind you. You can hear the 3D sound in real time. I can't say exactly where it happens, but where we used it to give the feeling of where enemies are coming from, even where you can't see them. For example, there's a monster behind a door, you'll hear the sounds coming from the direction of that door. This element is truly what makes Pyramid Head scary. He does not speak, he does not make any noise other than the knife he drags behind him. And you don't always see him immediately in your encounters. There's an encounter where he's behind you and you only hear dragging from behind you, making it for a PlayStation 2 games. We're reduced to such scary. Hear the monster coming from almost like The Ring. He may come out 2001. Game going on yet.
Sorry.
Here we go.
America 1 podcast. America's number one. I would never make jokes about it. Never. Okay. Sorry. I want to talk about the remake and also just kind of tag in the Advent Angel because it was made by the same guy who made the original, which is like I think the movie version. There were a lot of Final Fantasy stuff, but Advent One-Winged Angel, Advent Children, I believe, the one with the guitar that everyone loves. Yes, it's a remix, so it's not in the original game, but if you went to a live performance of it, you'll see the composer of that, like, bomb song. And that moment, straight magic, love, and shit that he put into that, to where he's that proud. Masterpiece. It's a pop. And then I want to talk about the remake. Now, I think the remakes music or One-Winged Angel Rebirth is the definitive One-Winged Angel theme. If you listen to it, oh my gosh, you're in for a ride. Not a ride, a journey. From beginning to end, it is insane of a song. You have your orchestral hits, you have your electric guitar, you have your that grand feeling the entire song, and it helps the set piece you're in. You're in literally crumbling all around. Sephiroth would not be the same for it. If he had I probably, because it's just that icon. Last hit where his name and it closed. It's amazing. Also, the track that played fight and I think it's 7 seconds end. It's very, very like dreadful. It's like, what is this guy planning? What's happening? And it's oddly beautiful. The songs and any of the songs.
In a similar manner, basically in the exact opposite manner, on 180, I would argue that Silent Hill 2 is the exact same way, but for every single one of its tracks. Akira Yamaoka doesn't just make music that fits into the game. He makes the atmosphere that you live in, that you truly walk through. Everybody knows the cutscene from Silent Hill 2 where you run through the fog and the eerie, the scary loud music is playing. You can hear it in your head as I'm talking about it. Pyramid Head's track exact same would be memorable because of how they make you feel.
So it's just very
too much ambience is very of the tracks are, but that have pretty bar riffs. You may go listen on your own, but most of the time it's kind of yeah.
Well, that's all I got for you.
All I got to say as well.
Now, I'd like to talk about the impact of our games. The final entries. The most important part of any video game or video game character. How did it impact you? And oh boy, does Sephiroth leave a mark on you? Think about it. You are, I don't know, 12 years old. You just played Final Fantasy VII for the first time. What are you at the school camp? I don't know. Sport. We'll be talking about Sephiroth. I mean, there was to do. Read. The talk of the probably decade. So cool. Final fight, it left a mark on every. Even if you haven't still, even seeing his design, he's in things. He's in Kingdom Hearts. He's in Smash Bros. He's in probably a random podcast that we deleted the video off of. He is the villain of all time, in my opinion.
Okay. Well, to counter what you said about how in the 90s Sephiroth was what all the kids were talking about on the playground, 2001 Pyramid Head is what everybody was talking about in the break room. This game was more made for the adults. It tackled darker ideas game didn't tackle, depression, and wasn't really sensationalized. It was more of like idea than an actual thing, people saw and realized. And Silent Hill 2 took the idea of mental illness and made it so anybody who's ever experienced it relatable. Pyramid Head is something anybody can have. Anybody can have their own Pyramid Head. They can have their own sadness and hatred. Stated by Masahiro Ito, who designed Pyramid Head in the IGN interview with the Silent Hill 2 remake world exclusive deep dive. My understanding of Silent Hill 2's story is that it is about James, a man with trauma going on a psychological journey through its town. Himself is the reason why life is in danger after encounter. He, like many people in the world, and he's causing self-harm in a direct manner. Is something that is stuck so greedy that Pyramid Head is a new trope. The idea manifestation of guilt, not just in Silent Hill 2. That is now an idea that is explored in pop culture. Now, it is now an idea. It is not just an explored idea in this game. It became a trope.
And to the point you made earlier, how they'd be talking about it in the break room. Final Fantasy VII, I'll admit, is more geared towards teenagers. I want to say teenagers to young adults. I don't think any 38-year-old would be having a lot of fun. They might, I don't know. Played Final Fantasy VII, and then probably make their own stories and shared their villains, most likely. That man left such that subconsciously they would be making content similar to him. For just awesome. He's just so cool. And yeah, these are entirely two different genres. You have a JRPG, then you have a horror game. Sephiroth doesn't represent any mental illness or kind of philosophical idea. He represents a fallen angel archetype, which has brought that trope of like a fallen angel. Well, okay, Lucifer probably did that, but I mean, he definitely helped.
To Lucifer,
he's second person you're probably in this. But look at things that are mainstream RPGs, tabletop D&D. You're making probably going to be like Sephiroth. He is, but he's probably going to, his demeanor, his clothing, maybe you just want to use a long katana.
Without knowing it, you've already taken inspiration from Sephiroth.
And you look at things, again, everything he's been in. I mean, for crying out loud, there's a wrestler who uses a move called the One-Winged Angel. His name's Kenny Omega. Check him out. He's actually really cool. It transcends pop culture, and it's in the hearts of many fans. There's references to it in cartoons and anime, obviously, but you'll see it everywhere. And there's a Gumball episode inspired by Final Fantasy VII.
I know, yeah.
It's a goated episode.
To counter what you said earlier, though, with how there were fans who grew up with 7 and made their own same way, but it and the tropes it's so popular, it isn't people who played somehow integrated into like at least horror games today. No, it's not as ghouls and goblins, a whole bunch of ghosts and zombies after you. It is usually more there is some sort of deep that is supposed to, and Silent Hill establish this idea, and the big guy, the big scary man who you have to run away from. That is an idea that became so popular. Their entire Outlast is entirely based off that aspect of running away from creatures you can't do anything to. Not in the same psychological way or existential way, but it is the trope that has been explored. I think Pyramid Head is also transcended pop culture, gone into movie. He's even does appear.
Well, I mean, really?
Pretty good. Silent Hill movie, maybe on good Superman movie.
Now can we get
Jack Black was in that.
Sorry. Family friendly, my bad.
Getting too political here. And on the Borderlands movie, the Mario movie.
Also bad.
And the oh my.
It was bad, but my final point here about Sephiroth is if you look at the 90s, right? What monumental games were in the 90s? I can name 3. You had Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, and Final Fantasy 7. And there's a reason for this. Wait, it was in the 90s. Did I say 80s?
I don't know.
I meant 90s. Whatever.
What about Fire Emblem?
No one plays Fire Emblem. What are you? The archetype of the BB, the big bad evil guy, the big villain.
BB, okay.
Yeah. In Ocarina of Time, Mario 64, and you have Sephiroth, Fantasy 7. Again, I mean, for the time, more adults. Obviously, a lot of teens. But I mean, with Ocarina of Time and Mario 64, you had like 8-year-olds play it, which are goated games. But they are definitely pandered towards kids, most likely. Even though Ocarina of Time was dark. Final Fantasy 7, it has some really dark moments, even in the original. And it does tell a complex story of like corporate greed and possible allegories for the natives, the not assimilation, but just like wiping out the ancients might have been an allegory for us wiping out the natives. I don't want to get political, but there helps in its impact at like the deepest story in the world, as deep as Silent Hill. Sephiroth is more impactful villain in a sense in the world and pop culture. My take.
All right.
Do you have anything else?
Well, I mean, I could counter that by stating Pyramid Head is still in gaming and seen all over, but I kind of already said that. Like, there are plenty of boss fights that have taken Pyramid's ideology 1-to-1, and then there are plenty of other games that have taken Pyramid Head's aspect of manifestation 1-to-1. Like, Pyramid Head is transcended being one singular trope. He is divulged. He is basic. Silent Hill 2 is basically the evolution of horror, and Pyramid Head is that big stepping stone. He is what changed a bunch of basic tropes. One bottle. You can just grab one, and it works. Any game, you're likely to get at least from that bottle from Silent. That's my argument. Video games, though, comic books, characters in general. Head. That's my point.
All right, yeah, I see it.
You get to choose now.
All right. Well, that's it. Then please let us know who you think will win in the comments. And like and subscribe. The loser will
Ring that bell.
The loser will get shot via firing squad. So pick wisely.
We will post that video too.
We will post, yeah. Live leak, be there.
Live leak.
All right, that was good.